Before we get started, The Wind is made with listener support. If you'd like to help make this show possible, head to patreon.com/thewind and set up a monthly donation. And just a heads up, this episode has strong language. The drive home from Montana is quiet. Icy roads cut through grassy plains, along rivers, through canyons, then open again into the big deserts of southern Idaho. In Soda Springs, we backed the 4Runner into 6 inches of snow, blanketing a dirt road, and we watch as the hills light up in the freezing night. It's the amber light of man-made lava. This is a radioactive molten slag heap, and it's maintained by the Monsanto Chemical Company to turn phosphate ore into commercial fertilizer and additives for Coca-Cola. In the morning, we share a Coke as we silently bump through the Salt Lake and Montello, Nevada. We don't know what time it is because the clock on the dashboard is out. We don't listen to music because the CD and cassette deck is connected to the clock and to whatever electrical issues it's having. So the drive home from Montana is quiet. The 1998 Toyota 4Runner was my mom's car when I was growing up. My own truck now has 413,000 miles on it, and in the coming weeks it'll be in the shop for a bit. This one is going to my brother, but first I'll be borrowing it for a while, because it only has 250,000 miles on it. But the CD and the tape player and the clock don't work, so the drive home from Montana is... My thoughts have space. On this trip, my partner deletes Spotify from her phone. I never had it, but I keep my own on airplane. Quiet and unplugged. We talk about getting MP3 players, like high school. And then we do. On New Year's Day, the iPod becomes old enough that its patent in the US will lose protection. My thoughts have space, and that space envelops itself, and the iPod knockoff shows up in the mail when I get home, and I load my whole collection onto it. Untethered, occasionally nostalgic, but not overly so, I listen to my entire library on shuffle. From the most recent album downloads off Bandcamp to the very first MP3s ripped from my parents' CD collections. I remember in middle school thinking it was funny that the first artists on my iPod were East Bay Goths, AFI, classic UK punks, The Addicts, and my mom's CD of Alanis Morissette. I still listen to all three. The song Ironic is track number 10 on Morissette's debut record, Jagged Little Pill, released in 1995, the same year as my truck, now in the shop, and 3 years before this car. And back when the clock worked, I'd ride around in the backseat of the 4Runner and I'd memorize the lyrics of all the CDs as they played in the now silent deck. Even as a kid, I found it funny that the situations Morissette describes in the lyrics of the song Ironic are in fact by definition not ironic. An old man hits the lottery, then dies. It rains at a wedding. The narrator has access to the wrong type of cutlery. Tragic, maybe, but not ironic. Yet, the fact that the situations in the hit song Ironic are not ironic is in itself extremely ironic. And I'd laugh again when I'd hear it as a young punk walking home from school after the Addicts' Viva la Revolution would autoplay into the next album on my iPod. When I park the 4Runner, I pause the MP3 player, and I find myself scrolling back into the tethered world.
I don't really get how it's different from any other apps.
Picking up free lumber to make a table, but I'm hiding a piano inside of it.
Come November, we're going to be up again.
I've just been having fun, going on dates.
If you could have one of the most architecturally significant homes shipped to you in a box,
The options here weren't laid out by me and my MP3 collection, but by the algorithm, now owned by the Ellisons. And I watch TikTok in front of the broken clock. Sometimes the algorithm does get it right, and it cues up a comedian that I like.
How come like a snakeskin belt or a purse or shoes are all considered fancy, but my snakeskin hut in the woods is the stuff of nightmares?
His name is Benny Feldman, and he tells one-liners.
I used to be monotheistic until the great worm that I worship got cut in half.
But on this video that is served up to me by the computer lords, he's not on stage. He's in his house, and he's explaining the mechanics of irony. And it goes for 30 minutes, and so I send him an email, and that is where we start this episode. I'm Phil Corbett. This is The Wind, a podcast from a desk in the woods. This episode is called Is It Ironic? Let's find out.
The Wind. With Phil Corbett.
Hey, what's up? Basically, I think there's a bunch of comedians who are doing evil comedy and pretending they are not. These comedians pretend that jokes have no meaning, or they'll pretend that they're just doing irony, or that all irony is somehow inherently good. They make fun of anybody in society who has less power than them for the big reactionary conservative audience that brings. A bigger audience means more ticket sales, more sponsorships, more tour dates, more deals, more money, more power. You'll often hear them say, "It's just a joke, dude. I'm just being ironic. You can't do irony anymore these days." I disagree. So I want to talk about how irony works and the why you should give a shit. Also, I have...
All right, so can you just introduce yourself and say where you are right now?
Hey, I'm Benny Feldman. I'm a one-liner comedian with Tourette's syndrome. I'm currently in New York City in Brooklyn.
Tourette's is sort of the abstract art of disabilities. A lot of people are like, I could do that.
Did you see a comic when you were younger and think like, oh, I should get into this?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, Mitch Hedberg is like kind of the touchstone for the last little while of one-liner comedians. Very specifically, I actually saw a Sarah Silverman joke. It's a very dirty joke, but it was like one line in her show, and I was like, oh, I like just jokes. And it was like, even though she's not a one-liner comic, I still just am like, oh, I like what that does to my brain. I like when there's just like a funny idea.
How would you explain like what it does to your brain?
Well, comedy makes you like literally feel good. There's like a physical pleasure sensation that you get from comedy. There's the external part. There's like laughter. You know what I mean? But that's not always pleasurable. Because you can laugh without finding something funny. Like, if somebody at work tells a joke or something. Your internal and your external sensations are not necessarily intertwined, but I'm a big internal sensation head. I love the feeling yet of pleasure you get from comedy.
Huh. What's your internal monologue like?
I don't know. That's I have no idea how to answer that.
All right. Okay.
I'd like to offer you my current framework for how to understand irony. This will hopefully help you see right past that bullshit, and also hopefully appreciate the good stuff better.
Benny's principal example of evil comedy, hiding behind the guise of irony, is Tony Hinchcliffe, who hosts a well-known podcast where comics of a similar ilk do short sets and banter. It acts as a hub for alt-right and manosphere-aligned comedy. Hinchcliffe was dropped from his management company in 2021 for making extremely racist comments about a fellow comedian in Texas on stage. Then he famously disparaged Puerto Rico while opening for a political rally. There is a whole ecosystem of this stuff with huge audiences. But for those of us less familiar with this world, a useful touchstone might be Joe Rogan or the political persona of Elon Musk. Musk will often say or post incendiary, outright hateful things. Then, depending on the heat of the response, he'll claim that it was just a joke.
All jokes have meaning and an underlying message. And what we choose to say in this world matters, dude.
Part of what made me think to reach out to you in the first place was your video on irony that you did, like a long-form breakdown of how irony works in comedy. And I found it, first of all, super fascinating. It was just like something I really enjoyed watching, but it also kind of explained a lot of these things that I think I understood, but I didn't know why.
Just for clarity, this is about irony in the online sense, or like being ironic. Also known more formally as verbal irony. Sometimes people use online irony too much, and it becomes hard to tell what their actual opinions are, and those people are sometimes called irony poisoned. This use of the word irony is not to be confused with the two other uses of the word, dramatic irony and situational irony. Just real quick, dramatic irony is when we know something that a character in a piece of media does not. Basically, when a character has imperfect information. Like in Romeo and Juliet, when Juliet fakes her death, but Romeo thinks she kills herself for real. Situational irony is when your intent or your actions contradict with the outcome. I have a joke where I go, lately I've been squishing all the caterpillars that have been eating my garden because I want it to look nice for when the butterflies arrive. My character in that joke ends up ruining the exact outcome that I want through my actions. Okay, with that shit out of the way, what is irony? What does it mean to be ironic? Irony is when you say or do something that you do not mean, but with some clear contradiction to show that doing or saying that thing is flawed. We're supposed to get that you don't actually mean the thing you say or do, but we are supposed to get that you're trying to say that that thing is flawed.
How did you kind of come up with that theory and learn how to break down these systems of, joke telling?
So I was doing improv for a couple years, from 2013 to 2017. But I started doing stand-up 2015, and I just was like, all right, how do I write a joke? I literally went on Wikipedia. I was like, well, what is comedy? There were a couple key moments there. The first one was that I saw a set from Kumail Nanjiani where I was like, oh, I recognize that there's clear structure here. I could figure out how to construct a joke like that if I look into it. And then I went on Wikipedia and I was looking at different types of comedy. It's extremely poorly structured, the information. It'll be hyperbole or dark comedy or blue comedy. Before I go further with that, my third element is that I come from a computer science background in college. And so I was thinking a lot about information graphs and information nodes and how idea structures and idea trees and stuff like that. And so I was looking at the Wikipedia for comedy. I was like, hyperbole and dirty jokes are not even remotely comparable category concepts. One of those is a information heightening structure idea, and one of those is a topic-based thing of penises and balls and vaginas and stuff. And the initial impetus of this was I just started to take all this stuff that was public information and just start to reorganize it appropriately, because it was pissing me off that stuff like hyperbole was considered anywhere remotely a near similar category to dirty jokes. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Irony is more in line conceptually, structurally to something like hyperbole. Through looking at those systems, I end up going, oh, this thing's like hyperbole or metaphor or irony or futility or whatever. And I expand that out and I go, okay, then what is irony? And that's how I ended up going down that pathway. And so I had already been studying what is irony for years prior to all these guys using it fascistically. And then I was able to just be like, whoa. Because I just, being a weird little nerd trying to organize this information, I went, oh, holy shit, I now have something here that a lot of these people don't, and I'm able to see right past their lies. I don't know.
Let's look at how we tell irony apart from earnestly saying or doing stuff. Clear contradictions. You need to deliberately and clearly contradict yourself so we know you don't mean it. You can do this by including some obvious failure in logic, going against your reputation, going against the context, and it can also help to play some sort of character. You can also do any sort of combination of these. An obvious failure in logic is when you say or do some stupid shit. It's being stupid. It's stupid stuff. It's when you're a fool. You make yourself clearly, deliberately wrong about something with the goal of pointing out that that thing is flawed or incorrect, and so are the people who say or do that same thing.
And for the record, some stuff, the idea of saying just a joke is actually a useful idea when you say something that where it's meant to be clear and you have a positive underlying goal or whatever. So I've got a joke where I'm at the aquarium petting zone, just absolutely grabbing. And
yeah.
I appreciate that. Somebody commented, you're not supposed to grab at the aquarium. And I'm like, no, obviously. That's what I'm like, no,
yeah.
So saying it's just a joke in that context, that doesn't mean it doesn't have meaning. But it lets them know that I'm like, no, the meaning is that I know you're not supposed to do that, obviously. Everybody, that's I'm reinforcing that. But a lot of people will say something like, oh, it's just a joke. Jokes don't have any meaning. Comedy is comedy. Don't take it seriously. And I think that is very blatantly, obviously a false idea that is being used to let people do jokes that have very negative ideas behind them. Just a clear example of something, it's if I say that guy looks like a beached whale or whatever. If I say that guy looks like a whale, I'm calling them fat. And there's other elements involved of context and reputation and stuff like that that can change the meaning. But the idea that if I were to be you look like a whale, the idea that I don't mean anything at all whatsoever by that because it's just a joke is nonsense. Unless you're saying it ironically or sarcastically or something, but that doesn't remove meaning entirely, it just changes the meaning. So if you say something sarcastically, you mean the opposite. One of the things with irony is to tell whether or not somebody is being sarcastic or ironic or kidding or whatever, or not, you know what I mean? To tell what direction they mean the meaning in. If somebody does an anti-trans joke, if it's a trans woman, they're very likely doing an ironic character, making fun of people who have that opinion. When you do the you look like a whale joke or whatever, that's not irony, that's just visual metaphor. You were saying visually, you have some similarity to a whale. Whales are known to be large, I'm calling you large. To tell if somebody's being ironic is, what are their other opinions and what actions do they take and do? So when they say all that stuff and they say, oh, we're just kidding, we're just being ironic, and it's no, we know that you materially support those actual policies involved. So when you're doing this anti-immigrant material, you mean it. We're not able to see it from a ironic lens. We're only able to see that from no, you directly support anti-trans legislation, anti-immigrant, deportations, etc.
I mean, I've just been thinking a lot about how, the corporate surveillance capitalism world that we're increasingly living under, it thrives specifically on media illiteracy and people not kind of understanding what they're seeing and what it means. I mean, do you agree with that?
100%. I think that if these ideas were common knowledge and people knew that jokes could be used in this way, I think that we wouldn't have seen anywhere near as far of a rise of a lot of these guys. Media literacy, I think, is probably it's pretty low for a lot of stuff, but I would say it's specifically gutter for jokes.
Going against the context. Without doing some stupid shit or by going against your reputation, you can also go against the wider or immediate situation. To show how this is different from reputation, let's keep the person the same. Your coworker says to you, I've actually never driven a car before. In the first context, you're getting lunch with them. In the second context, you just got into their car and they're about to drive you home. Only one of those is a contradiction against the situation. In the first situation, it'd be totally reasonable that a coworker had never driven before, and they're just telling you like a fun fact about themselves. In the second situation, it goes against the fact that they have somehow procured a car and are behind the wheel and are about to drive you home.
Yo, Eve ate that apple and it gave her all that knowledge and stuff. Dude, when she ate a second apple, she must have been like, this was just an apple?
What do you think is a way to like change that? It seems like you're kind of actively trying to change that by doing these like long form videos about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
It felt so pressing, and I was like, oh, people don't know, and this matters right now and is really relevant. And so like, for instance, like, it seems to have heavily informed your perspective. You seem to now get it.
Yeah, totally.
You get that these guys are using the guise of irony to propagate fascist ideas. And so like with some like, and I've had different people come up and say that they like the video, and so like I'm like, oh, that is the exact intended effect, is to be a idea manufacturer in the culture war. One of the core sticky ideas of rhetoric going the wrong direction is literally, it's just a joke. Comedy is comedy. And it's like, the idea of, oh, it's just a joke, or like, don't take comedy seriously. It's like, those are very sticky ideas because they make sense. What I'm trying very specifically to do, well, I did the long form video, but I know 99.9% of people are not going to watch a 30-minute video essay on irony. And so what I try to do for a broader audience is carve like kind of like literal rhetoric, sticky rhetoric ideas the other way that undercut the things like it's just a joke. So I've done a whole series of it's just a joke ideas where I'm like, and those have gotten much broader reach, I think, than the irony video. Yeah, so it'll be like, oh, it's just a joke, dude. It's just a form of speech. Speech doesn't communicate ideas. And it's like flipping the just a joke on its head. And so people have that in their mind as like a cure to the original idea. Steampunk asked the question, what if technology was only hot water and clocks? And some people answered, we'd dress up all horny about it. If Pokemon were real, we would have used them in the Iraq War. I know that there's a lot of people who have a brother or a coworker or a friend's partner or whoever in their life who have these dog shit bad opinions. But they have a hard time articulating to these people why they're wrong. And so the other person ends up like winning these arguments because it's like people don't have these idea structures that are such sticky things. And so I'm handing them the tools to win that argument or convince that person or whatever. And so, or hold their own or not get pushed back. You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm giving... The goal is to change the public's opinion, but by giving them the tools to do it.
It's interesting. You brought up like the social media videos, and TikTok algorithm correctly put me directly in your target audience a while ago. And I'm wondering, like what you make kind of fits the format so perfectly. I'm wondering like, what's your relationship like with these, social media platforms?
It's an interesting thing where you're working for the platform. Like I know people who like their whole income is like Instagram or TikTok or whatever. It's like, well, fundamentally you work for Instagram. You know what I mean? Like that's like a way of like looking at it. But at the same time, you're also still sort of the capitalist owner of ideas. If I have a video of me telling jokes, the way that this architecture of the system works is like, you become the capitalist owner of, like, you own these ideas, these trademarked sort of ideas. And so then that becomes, I am sort of in joint capital ownership of this video with those platforms. Instagram doesn't pay any money at all for the reels. And so that's actually a weird one where you're literally just working for them for free.
Yeah, and I mean, are you thinking about these platforms as you're creating the art? Like, do you think that kind of output is changing what you make? No.
Yeah, okay, but I do know people are. So, yeah, coming back to part of why I'm getting so into the weeds on, like, the capital side of it or, like, the money side of it is, like, the different mechanisms for how to get money in comedy or how to have a career literally are what shape what people create. And so you see people, like, okay, back in the, 90s or 80s or whatever, the only mechanism was a 5-minute set on Carson or whatever. And so, like, not only did it have to be 5 minutes of, like, stand-up, but, like, it had to be stand-up that Johnny Carson would approve of and that, like, network TV would approve of. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there is a beauty. One of the pros is, like, the decentralized nature of it, where it's like anybody can just do it now.
Do you imagine, like, a version of this that is better? Like, can you solve all of these problems real quick?
Ha! It is all interconnected, because, like, the thing with, like, all these fascist ideas, all these, like, guys who are, like, truly, like, doing evil harm to the country, part of it is, like, they're really doing amazing in the clip economy. They're going viral. They're doing all that. They've got whole teams that are cranking out clip after clip after clip. It's like this success and money machine. So, like, I'm not just like this thing of, like, complaining about the, like, this capitalist side of it. It's all interconnected to the fact that, like, what does well within the capitalist framework of these clip economies are these, like, big capitalist machine guys and shows. And, like, you know, like, the guys like Netflix, a lot of the specials that they've gotten in the last, like, little while, like, they've had all the Dave Chappelle trans stuff controversy was on Netflix. And that was, like, some of, like, their early forays that they were doing of, like, letting stuff go further and further to the right. Then they've got their full media machine that they can put behind cranking out quote unquote viral clips or whatever. Like, they've got a whole system.
Obviously, structurally, like, having a lot of money behind these things, like, they push these ideas further just because, you know, they have the marketing budget to do so. But do you think these ideas, did they just work better, you know, in these algorithms? Do you think that is part of it in some way that isn't just having money behind it?
I don't necessarily think so. I do earnestly think that it's like I don't know. It's resonating with different people in the country is part of it. I don't know. I think that's simply to do with that public opinion is already so skewed previously in favor of fascism. like the idea of is like, or just at least in comedy spaces, like the idea of it's just a joke is an old idea. I can't believe that we haven't why am I the guy disproving that? You know what I mean? I keep looking around going, like, what are we talking about? Why do I have to make the video essay on irony? Why don't people know this? You know what I mean? I don't know.
All jokes are political. Comedy is political. Since people are persuaded by jokes and learn things from humor, it's actually very dangerous for the public to not think jokes have meaning. As you've seen, all jokes have an underlying meaning. People then think about that underlying meaning. Social rhetoric influences people's beliefs. Those ideas persuade people. That has consequences at both an individual and a wider social level. First, because individuals' beliefs determine their actions in this world. Second, because the wider public's beliefs as a collective determine public policy, or literal politics. Comedy and comedy podcasts are a major part of people's media diet.
Going back to the first thing you said about comedy triggering an internal experience of joy in some way, how does that mechanism work for you? How much of it is internal and external? And, like, how much are you playing with those mechanisms?
We have ideas in our mind. Dog, jazz, whatever, you know what I mean? You can play with ideas in different ways. You can, like, make a dog bigger. You can make a giraffe's neck shorter or whatever. And there's different, like, resolutions where you've got, like, contradictions and you've got, like, sort of pseudo-equivalence and, like, misdirect type stuff. Basically, like, the idea of false, the idea of something, like, being, like, not true is only in the human mind. Like, the idea of false doesn't exist in nature. Everything in reality is true. Like, a waterfall is just true, it's just real. And so I think that, like, the idea of what is aligned with reality and what is not aligned with reality, or the idea of true and false, fundamentally form the, like, building block, like, basics of comedy in, like, a certain problem-solving sense. And so that pleasure sensation comes from the joy of solving the puzzle. The jokes are essentially like little idea puzzles. And when you are able to appropriately figure out what is true, what is not, that is good. That's good problem-solving behavior that evolution has rewarded. It's good to be able to figure out what is true and what is not. So the internal sensation is, this is speculation. Obviously, this is all speculation. The internal pleasure sensation is meant to reward you for being good at figuring out what is true in reality. And the external part, the laughter, is to demonstrate to other people socially that you figured out the problem and how you felt about it or whatever. There's also a lot of aesthetic stuff. Like, you can, if there's like a poop joke that you find funny, you might go, oh, you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
And so, like, the internal part is to reward us for being good at problem solving. The external part is to let people know that we solved the problem, that we're good at problem solving, so that they have sex with us, so that they keep us in the tribe, to build community bonds where it's like, you also solved that problem. I also, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's from an evolutionary perspective, it has to do with figuring out what is true and not, and developing social bonds.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at the list of questions that I do have, and like a lot of it kind of comes down to that, and like this moment on the internet of like people having a really hard time figuring out what is true and what isn't, you know, and like that bleeding into, you know, our everyday lives as well. Like there's something, I don't know, there's some weird resonance there that that is fascinating to me that I think I will dig into.
No, absolutely. People always say like comedy's rooted in truth, and it's like, well, truth. It's like, well, yes, but it's also like truth is fundamentally subjective, and so you got a lot of these guys doing these jokes where it's like the foundational quote unquote truth of their joke is that like all immigrants are rapists or whatever.
It's just a joke, dude. It's just a metaphor about how your ethnicity is similar to rats and bugs.
And they're like, oh, it's just a joke or whatever. But they're reinforcing these like underlying ideas where it's like this ethnic group is undesirable. Not everybody agrees what's true.
I hope you will agree, fascism is bad from most possible definitions of the idea of bad. These stupid motherfuckers are destroying America for personal gain. I hope this framework helps you see what they're doing, and I hope this helps us stop them.
Thank you. I'll re-listen to this and I'll judge myself.
Cool. See you, Benny.
Peace out. Thank you, Phil.
The Wind is produced by me, Phil Corbett. This is an independent podcast made possible by listener support. If you'd like to join the community and help make this thing possible, head to patreon.com/thewind. There are several tiers with different rewards, and you can also sign up for free for updates about the show. That's patreon.com/thewind. I'll post a link to Benny Feldman's comedy and the 30-minute irony video in the episode description. Music in this episode came from Hannah Lee's album, Textures, a track from friend of the show, Iklept Insan, Incoming by Ketsa, and this song from the public domain. This is the penultimate episode of Year 6. Thank you for being here, and keep listening.